His Excellency, the Ambassador of India, Mr. K.M. Lal, who before coming to Denmark has had a long diplomatic career, will now say good morning.
Morning.
Could you tell us something about your long career as a diplomat?
Well, I am what is usually known as a career diplomat, which means that right from the time that I graduated from the university, I joined the diplomatic service, and I have been in this service now for the last 35 years. Naturally, during that time, I have been posted in many countries, in several continents, and occasionally, of course, also back home in Delhi. During the course of my travels, I have been posted in North America, in the Arab countries, in Africa, and finally now here in Denmark, in West Europe.
What was your reaction or what was your feelings when you first learned that you were coming to Denmark, which of course is totally different from the other countries you visited?
Well, I was very excited and happy to learn that I was coming to Denmark because in the course of my long career I had never had a posting in Europe, and I wanted very much to have a posting in Europe before my career ends. And I was particularly happy that in Europe, the country I was going to represent India in was Denmark, because it is one of the countries which are most friendly to India and have always been so.
Well, after having been here 4 years, what are then your general impression of Denmark?
Well, I've had, my wife and I, we have both had very happy and pleasant sojourn in Denmark. I'm not just saying this because you may think I'm supposed to say it. It is really so, because Denmark is, of course, one of the most advanced countries in Europe, and therefore living is so pleasant and so easy. That's one reason, but that's not really the main reason. The main reason is that my wife and I have both always found the Danes to be very friendly to us, very considerate, very thoughtful, and when they hear that I'm the ambassador of India, there's always a genuine show of interest. It is not just a pro forma show of interest, but one can feel, my wife and I, we both felt that when any Dane got to know that I was the ambassador of India, there was a genuine interest to ask questions, to find out how we are faring here in Denmark, to know whether we are experiencing any problems, which of course we are not experiencing, but the point is the show of interest, the genuine show of interest. That's what pleased us very much.
What are your personal accomplishments while staying here in Denmark?
Well, I don't know how proper it would be for me to talk about my personal accomplishments, but I know what you mean, that what you feel that I have hopefully helped to accomplish during my 4 years here. And I think that the most prominent and the most important events during my stay in Denmark have been the visit by His Excellency the Prime Minister of Denmark to India, and during the same year there was a visit by the Prime Minister of India to Denmark as well, in order to attend the World Social Summit, which as we all know was held here in Copenhagen. So what we had basically was that a very rare event in the relations between two countries, where the heads of government of the two countries concerned exchange visits within the very short span of about 6 months. This is a rare event indeed. And this, as you might put it, is like seeing a comet in the sky. It's something which happens only once in a long while.
What achievements do you think were made during the Danish Prime Minister's visit to India?
Well, the visits of such high dignitaries, they do of course have specific results which are immediate and concrete, and there were many of these. But perhaps as important or even more important are the results which may not be apparent to the public eye immediately, but which are in the long run perhaps more important in cementing relations between the two countries. These results are in terms of the personal relations, the rapport established by the high dignitary when he visits a country, the rapport established between the two leaders, the rapport established between the visiting leaders delegation and the ministers and high officials in India, between the businessmen and industrialists in the delegation and the businessmen and industrialists in India. The rapport, the personal relations, perhaps these are, if anything, more important in the long run. But there were, of course, a number of specific and concrete results. There were, to start with, some very fruitful and constructive discussions, political discussions, between the two prime ministers in Delhi. There were very useful and concrete economic and commercial discussions between the official Danish delegation and the Indian officials of the economic ministries concerned. There were at the same time, simultaneously, there were discussions between the businessmen and industrialists who had accompanied His Excellency the Prime Minister. This, of course, was precisely what both the sides were aiming for, the Danish side and the Indian side. The creation of this tremendous, multifarious interrelationship and impression upon each other. And this is what was actually achieved.
So now that you're leaving Denmark, how do you see your future now?
Well, I've had a very, very pleasant and long innings in Denmark, in the sense that normally our term here is about 3 years, but I've been here just about 4 years. So that's why I say that I've had a relatively long innings here. But after going back home now, I will be leaving government service, and perhaps it depends on how the mood takes me. I may take up a job. If I find a good job, I may become a consultant in order to utilize my long experience as a diplomat to help Indian firms and Indian organizations to interact with foreign firms and foreign organizations, whether it's commercial or cultural. I could be a consultant in these matters, or I could, if the mood takes me, I could perhaps even think of writing a book about my life, because I've had an extremely interesting life, I think, being posted in so many countries in several continents, seeing so many cultures, seeing so many points of view of different peoples, how they differ, how cultures differ, how beliefs and religions differ, and how they all react to the Indian culture as represented by me in their country. All this has been extremely interesting, so I may even think of writing a book about my experiences. It all depends on how things develop after I reach India, because as you know, it is very difficult to predict the future, and nobody can really do so, but because it depends on so many things which you don't know about at the present time. But it will be one of these things which I will try my hand at.
In all your meetings with the various cultures, you say they differ a lot. Have you found something to be the same, common for all of them?
Yes, I think that what has been common for all the cultures has been the sense that every culture had, every people I met took pride in their own culture. There was a realization that science and technology are bringing the world much closer together. It is becoming, as the popular phrase is, a more and more a global village. And what I could sense in each of these countries, each of these different cultures, was a sort of unspoken feeling that science and technology is very good, of course, it goes without saying, but it should not be allowed to homogenize the richness and variety of cultures in the world. Should not become one homogeneous type of culture, but each culture should find a way of retaining its identity, its particular taste and flavor, and yet take advantage of science and technology. The world may become a global village in one sense because of the tremendous advances in transport and communications and such developments as television and the internet. But yet, at another level, it would be a great pity if the richness and variety of world cultures were to get diluted. And this, I think, every place I visited, there was this feeling that we have to conserve and protect our culture as do other cultures. They should also conserve and protect themselves so that we conserve the world heritage and not let it get diluted.
Welcome to Yes, Aapki Farmaish. This is your show for you to write in your requests on this program so we can play whatever you like.
Watch Aapki Farmaish every Saturday at 8:30 a.m.
Here now in Indiavision, getting to know the people who are working on Indiavision has given me an interest and a wish to go to India to see it for myself.
Well, I'm very glad to hear that. In fact, I think that you, being a Dane, being a European, you will find India is very, very interesting. It's a totally different culture, it's a totally different civilization, and to top it all, there are many very interesting tourist spots in India. You know, the interesting thing about tourism in India is that many countries have one particular kind of tourism. For instance, It may be the tourism of sun and sand, where people go there mainly to lie on the beaches and get a suntan and to swim. That could be their main type of tourism. There are other countries where the main kind of tourism is to go and see the animals. Another country, the main source of tourism interest could be that they have excellent skiing areas. But the great thing about India and Indian tourism is that we have all of these. India is so big and the climate is so various, it has so much variety that you can find areas where there is snow and it's very cold, and there you can do skiing. Down on the plains, it can be very hot at some times of the year. There you can lie on the beaches and get a suntan, you can swim. Then deep in the jungle, there is a tremendous variety of animals and birds.
Like the tiger.
Like the tiger in particular, which of course is a magnificent animal. Particularly if you see it in its natural habitat in the jungle, it's very different to see a tiger in the jungle and to see a tiger in a zoo. A tiger in a zoo looks like a big cat. But a tiger in the jungle looks really like the king of the jungle, which he is. So India has got all kinds of tourism because of its huge size, because of the variety in its climate, the variety in its terrain. It's got everything in the shape of tourism. And then it's got cultural tourism in the sense that it has a very strong culture of its own. It has a very long history of about 4,000 to 5,000 years. So those who are interested in seeing historical sites and in seeing cultural sites, they have a wealth of things to see in India too. Well, it depends. There are some Europeans who, because Europe is, at least North Europe, is a cold region, some of them would like to come at a time when it's slightly hot, not very hot, but slightly hot. So for them, the best time would be, let's say, April or July, August. Because May and June would be really very hot, and it would be uncomfortable. But for about 6 months of the year, India is very pleasant, and that is from October to March.
What are the temperatures like?
Well, in summer it could be about May and June are very hot. They go up to 43, 44 degrees centigrade. But in August, September, it's more like 35, 36 degrees. But as I said, between October and March is the best time to come, and because it's extremely pleasant, it's just right, and it is very pleasant to travel during that time. Whereas if you come in the hot months, it becomes uncomfortable to travel, and you tend to sort of feel like staying in your air-conditioned hotel room rather than to go around because of the heat. But those 6 months are extremely pleasant, and is the best time to see the great variety and wealth of sites in India.
Sounds pleasant. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm glad to hear that.
Well,
Thank you for calling me here, and it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much.